What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and we are doing something that we typically do on a Friday today because, like I said, my goal is to get all this Saints game stuff out before tomorrow because I know that once we get to that game, that's going to be what's on people's minds. So, Pass Rush Friday on a Wednesday, and then we'll do all the college football videos on Friday after the game because, again, there's no real urgency to get that out. So, Pass Rush Friday today. We are also doing Floating Head Brendan right now, as you may have noticed. People like the Floating Head Brendan, so sometimes we bring in the Floating Head Brendan. It's pretty cool. And please give this video a like, subscribe, click the bell, become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support. Check out my latest on Bleacher Report. I'm just going to go ahead and get to the point here. Pro Football Reference kind of, they were kind of mean to us this week. They had no mercy for these Seattle Seahawks. If you guys watched the Pro Football Focus videos earlier this week, you guys know that they were very complimentary of our pass rush. They loved it. They thought we lived in the backfield. And it wasn't just one or two guys. It was pretty much the whole team. Pro Football Reference did not feel the same way, and that'll become apparent very quickly. And this kind of illustrates why I like to look at both, because I think both are providing a valuable perspective. And this is why I don't like to preach one over the other as complete gospel. I do generally prefer Pro Football Reference because I think they're a little bit harsher, which I think is good. And I do think you learn stuff when you see these discrepancies. You do learn that, hey, you're getting pressure, but is it good pressure or is it soft pressure? What kind of pressure are you really getting? Like in this case, in this game, you've got Leonard Williams, 2 pressures, so he's cooking it up out there. He's well on track to have the kind of season I was hoping he would have. Byron Murphy, 2 pressures. PFF gave him, I think, 5. So that gives you an idea of the discrepancy here, but still, Murphy is playing so much better than I ever would have thought possible, mostly lining up in A-gap. And this is kind of crazy what he's getting away with while getting lined up in A-gap so much. So those two guys both had multiple pressures in this game. And that's great, right? 4 pressures from your defensive line. Not nearly as good as last week, but that's still pretty good. That's still a pretty decent foundation. When you really only have 3 guys playing significant snaps for the most part, you're not going to get a ton of stuff from this necessarily. So this is a good number. This is a good start. But quickly, things drop off after you get past the defensive line. Linebackers, nothing, which isn't terribly surprising, although PFF did give Ernest Jones a little bit. So there is a discrepancy there again. But overall, I don't think our inside linebackers necessarily did anything overly deserving of a pressure. So, okay, I'm on board with this. But then you get to the edge rushers. And look at how much we got. I don't want to call it shortchanged because I know PFR has their formula that they follow and I respect it. But nothing for Uchenna Nwosu. One for Boye Mafe, which is the same as PFF, but Derek Hall, 1. Whoop. I am sorry. That is disgusting. 1 pressure for Derek Hall. That, I don't know if I agree with that. I think he, even if you're being very harsh, he probably had at least 2. I am going to go ahead and have the number that they have, but I don't know if I buy it. I do buy Sleeper, however, more on them now. Before we go any further into this video, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. Have you heard about the app, the Sleeper app? Download it. I'm going to let you in on a little something now. It's more than just a platform for fantasy leagues. Yes, this year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but there is so much more to this app. There are live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. News feed is lightning fast. You get updates on your favorite players and teams. There is a chat you can use in real time to engage with other users about plays and performances. All kinds of fun stuff like that over there. So download the Sleeper app, the #1 sports app today. Experience it yourself. Use promo code SBN to get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. SBN promo code. Back to the video. Welcome back. So that does seem a little bit goofy because I think Derek Hall definitely did better than that. Off the top of my head, maybe part of the issue is that he drew a holding call on one of his pressures, so that ends up not counting. It feels wrong that you don't get credit for that as an edge rusher, though, because it's almost a sack. And DeMarcus Lawrence, nothing. So, yeah, you can see that compared to PFF, we do get straight shortchanged by this formula. Cornerbacks, nothing here, although you wouldn't really expect. I feel like the cornerback, if Witherspoon's not on the field, there's not going to be a ton of cornerback blitzing from this team because he's the guy who has shown that he's really good at it. So I'm not surprised by this. I wouldn't expect many attempts to get pressure with corners, but nothing here, and there's been nothing since week 1 from this group, which, again, that was the 1 week where Witherspoon actually played, so it lines up. And then we did get one from the safety position from Ty Okada, who actually had a sack. Nothing from anybody else, though, although only of these guys, only Kobe played. And by the way, I know that DeAnthony Bell played a little bit on defense, but he didn't get any pressures, of course. And that gets you at 7. That gets you to 7, which, given the way that game went and my experience watching the game, I'm going to admit, doesn't feel right. But this is why Pro Football Reference has value. This is why I like to use them, even when they give results that are not so great. Because I think that there is something we can learn here. And maybe this can teach us that while the Seahawks are creating pressure, a lot of the pressure is soft. A lot of the pressure has minimal impact on the play. And while that's not a bad thing, because I feel like it shows the process is going well and the sacks and the more meaningful pressures should be coming, it also says that we're not all the way there yet. And look, we have a lot of our secondary banged up right now, missing a lot of guys these last couple games. Eminwari, Witherspoon, Love missed the last game as well. So it's not surprising maybe, but I will say 7 does seem a little bit low. I think that if I were to go through the tape, even if I were being very harsh, I would find a couple more pressures than that. But that is what Pro Football Reference thinks. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys feel about this. Again, I am going to continue to utilize Pro Football Reference for this weekly series because I think that their perspective is valuable, and we cover PFF on Monday every week anyway. And I like to have the two extremes, and I think you get the two extremes with PFF and PFR. But I have to admit, I feel like we got shortchanged this week, and while I do think there's something to be learned here, I think part of the lesson is PFR is a little too mean at times. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks, playing on streaming tonight, probably beating Pikmin 2. Probably getting back to Banjo-Kazooie after that as well, since we left that playthrough hanging for a little bit here. But hope to see you guys soon. Go Hawks. And yeah, there's your Pass Rush Friday. Not great, but it's a valuable perspective regardless.